Hello, I'm back. Oh my gosh, I've had, I think, a 3-week hiatus. I was on vacation with my kids, visiting my mom in the Caribbean. And then I went to go visit my dad and stepmom. And for that trip, I was actually solo, which was so exciting. So I was gone for probably 2.5 weeks with all of the travel. And I got back last week and honestly just felt like I had been hit by a bus. It was so extreme dealing with the jet lag and also dealing with, I think, altitude, just everything. Like my body just felt exhausted. So I took another break last week just to kind of feel better and not overly stress myself out. But I'm excited to be back and talking about all things photography with you guys. It was definitely a much needed break having that time away. If you are feeling a little frenetic, a little wiped out, a little like you need to hit pause, go do that. Like even if it's just for a day or two, just take some rest. You will come back feeling so much better. Yeah, so I'm excited to be back diving into all the sessions. I had 3 sessions this past weekend, so that was kind of intense too to come back to. But yeah, really fun to just kind of dive back into things and wrap up the summer and start thinking about fall, which I have been thinking about. Even when I was on vacation, I wasn't doing no work, but I was doing a lot less than normal. And I feel like this always happens every summer. I end up mapping out my fall mini sessions whilst I'm on vacation. So I was doing that whilst I was away. And that is going to be the topic of today's podcast. So we are going to talk about mini session strategy. We'll talk about what exactly mini sessions are, how you should be structuring them, and yeah, just how you can be successful with offering this type of session instead of your fully customized full session. I think mini sessions can be very lucrative, not just on the day itself, but after the fact as well. And we're going to talk about upsells, but then we're also going to talk about that potential for this client who has maybe never experienced a session with you before to potentially upgrade to a full session with you as well. So there's a lot of potential in terms of income, in terms of client growth, and yeah, just developing your brand, your relationships, all that kind of stuff. So I think they're really positive, and I do want to talk about mindset first in respect to mini sessions, because I think I do know a lot of photographers whose kind of immediate reaction to mini sessions is no, I don't do that. It's too hectic. It's too stressful. It doesn't serve me. It takes away from my style of photography. I feel like for sure, there can be some truth to some of those things. And I will say that I am learning a lot from every single year. Every time I do mini sessions, I'm just learning what I like about it, what I don't like about them. So I do feel like you can craft what you want your mini sessions to be. I'm going to give you some information and some guidelines, but feel free to make this your own because you're the one that's going to be running this. And yeah, you have to like the way that everything works, everything flows. So thinking about the mindset component as well, I will say that I have been told by photographers not to offer mini sessions at all. Then I've heard from other photographers to only offer mini sessions once a year. So I think there's a lot of different beliefs out there. I don't think anything's wrong. I think it's just whatever works for you and your style and your business. I mean, I think part of the reason we decided to be photographers in the first place is because we're entrepreneurs. We want to run our own business and we have our own ideas about that. So you got to do what works for you. But I will say that I have some ideas that maybe contrast with that. So first off, I think sometimes people think that mini sessions are just discounted full sessions and you are actually not going to earn a lot of money from them. And I do think that can be true if they are not designed correctly. So I'm just going to do a little bit of math with you right now so that you can kind of understand where I'm going with the idea that they can be very lucrative, not just on the day, but for the long term as well. So let's say you are charging $250 for your mini session and you've got 10 sessions set up. So 10 different clients. So already at a base, you're making $2,500. I'm keeping the math deliberately simple today. All right. And then let's say after the sessions, 50% of those clients decide to upgrade to your full gallery package. And we will talk about the offerings and the deliverables later on, but I'm just giving you an idea of the math right now. So let's say that you charge $300 for your full gallery. And I'm just kind of throwing out numbers here. So half of the clients are upgrading, that's 300 times 5, that's $1,500. Then let's say 2 to 3 of your clients decide to book a full session with you at a later time in the year. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they have extended family in town for Thanksgiving, or maybe they have a newborn session they need. I don't know, whatever it is. At some point within a year, they end up upgrading again by choosing to do a full session with you. And ballpark figure, I'm just going to throw this out there again for math's sake. Let's say that you are charging somewhere around $800 to $900 per full session. So you have the potential there later on, if 2 to 3 clients convert to your full session, to make another $2,500. So I'm trying to do math really fast now. So basically from that one day of mini sessions, you made $2,500 on the day, $1,500 from the upgrade, gallery upgrade, and then just for the sake of being round with our numbers, $2,500 from future sessions. So those mini sessions actually helped you to generate $6,500. So really cool. And those are just ballpark figures. Like obviously you price your minis, your galleries, your full sessions at whatever your pricing is. So truly, depending on where you are as a photographer and what your offerings are, then we're talking somewhere between 5 to 10K, let's say, which is really pretty cool. As I mentioned, every time I run a mini session, I learn new things about how the whole thing works, how it flows, how my systems work on the back end, all that kind of stuff. And I do think they can feel a little frenzied. I will say, I'm just talking from personal experience here, because there is that sort of frantic time component of, okay, we've got 20 minutes, and you do kind of have to be aware, like looking at your watch, or maybe you set an alarm on your phone. So that kind of aspect, if you are someone who likes to be a little more slow and intentional, I think that can be hard to overcome. Practice helps so much. So the more you do of these, then the better you're going to get. And honestly, if you wanted to, you could just grab a bunch of friends and go out for an hour and just practice that kind of concept. Like, okay, I'm going to spend 20 minutes with you, 20 minutes with you, and just do that and see how it feels and see how things flow. I think that'll give you a good idea of just how it's going to feel on the day. Let's talk about planning and scheduling so that you're clear on how these mini sessions work now, I think. So mini sessions are typically batched back to back. So again, the length of time can vary somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes. I would say 30 minutes is definitely at that upper end in terms of length. I would say I typically see mini sessions being offered around 15 to 20 minutes. And then having a 5-minute buffer in between sessions is usually helpful. If people are running late, you will inevitably get people at the end of the session, when you tell them the time is up, asking for one more photo. I get this even when I tell them, okay, we have 1 more minute and then we have to wrap up. And then they'll still ask me for another photo at the end. I'm like, no, I can't. It is so hard to say no to people, I have to tell you that. But it's also interesting to me, the people who, I don't know. I know they're not watching their clock, right? But they're kind of forgetting the whole concept of, hey, you have a limited amount of time. This is why you booked this session. Anyway, that's one of the cons, okay? We have to manage people's expectations and have good customer service. So that can be a real challenge. Anyway, so you're batching your sessions back to back, a 5-minute buffer, a little bit longer if you really feel you need it. And then you're in one location and it's on one day. So this is all very deliberate. You're maximizing your time and you're able to get a lot of shoots done without having to drive all over the place, schedule a whole bunch of things. I do think that is the beautiful part of mini sessions, is that you are completely in control. So you select the date, and obviously you're going to pick something that's convenient for you, but you do also want to pick something that you know is going to be popular for whoever your target client is. So for example, families, you got to kind of keep that concept in mind too. You're able to pick the location. So again, picking somewhere that's convenient for you. Like why wouldn't you? This is the whole point. We're not driving around all over the place. Because if you think about having 10 sessions all separated out and having to communicate back and forth with all those people, okay, so what date do you want? What time? Where do you want to go? That just removes all of that. Your mini session, you are advertising this date, this time, this location, boom. So yes, you do have to have things set up in the back end, and this is kind of annoying. I have changed my CRM systems in the last year or so, so I am kind of starting from scratch again this year. But once you get it set up once, then you can have this whole sequence of emails and information, PDFs, whatever it might be, just sent out to each client for each of the sessions that you book. So it definitely reduces the amount of admin and the amount of kind of client back and forth that you have to do by doing mini sessions. I had everything, website, gallery, session booking, all that kind of stuff, all in Pixieset before. This year, I have switched over to Honeybook, and now I'm also using for my galleries PicTime. So this is where I am kind of having to update those systems, but I really love the workflow in Honeybook. I didn't have anything like that before in Pixieset. I was kind of having to set up kind of segments, the segments in Flowdesk. So I use Flowdesk as like my email campaign system. But because Pixieset doesn't really have a CRM, it just kind of has like somewhere where it houses all your client information, but there's no way to really email back and forth. And I could be wrong. Maybe they've changed things now, but at the beginning of the year when I switched, they didn't have this. So yeah, I was having to kind of set up separate segments and an email workflow in Flowdesk. And although it worked, I will say it was definitely a bit of a headache. It feels much simpler in Honeybook. So I'm pretty happy so far with that switch. Yeah, it's working well for me. And then this is going to be the first time that I'm using PicTime galleries. And one of the things I'm excited about with PicTime galleries is they also have inbuilt email marketing. So this is where that upsell component, after you've delivered the gallery and you have provided the number of digital images that were included. The deliverables usually for mini sessions are somewhere between 3 to 8 images, because the whole goal of your mini sessions is that you're not just making money on the day, you are setting yourself up to continue to make money after. Anyway, yeah. So somewhere between 2 to 8 images in your deliverables, and then relying on that email marketing within your galleries. I'm so excited to be able to use that. So we've talked about planning and scheduling those. Let's talk about marketing and promotion. So I mentioned at the beginning of this episode that I usually start kind of planning out and promoting my mini sessions in the summer. I find that if I do that, so I kind of give myself somewhere around 8 weeks, that I sell out my mini sessions, no problem. And this year I am almost sold out and I haven't done any ads or anything. So I'm feeling pretty good about the fact that I did do that early. But again, I think somewhere from 4 to 8 weeks is probably a reasonable amount of time. And there are definitely people who are a little more last minute. I know some families in August are kind of thinking, well, this feels way too early. I don't know what I'm doing end of September or mid-October. Let's hang tight and see what else is being offered. So you kind of do what makes sense for you. I like knowing ahead of time when my sessions are going to be. But I will say there is also a challenge, especially in Colorado. We can't always be sure when the leaves are going to turn. And I think if you do hold off a little bit, then you can potentially kind of have a better idea of when that might be happening. But I don't think it's worth it. Just kind of pick the dates that you know are typically good for fall if you're wanting those fall colors, and just go with that. So usually as well, when you are launching your mini sessions, a good strategy would be teasing your mini session. So you might drop some ideas in your stories, the concepts, that kind of stuff, and maybe even have kind of like a sign up link. Just say, hey, if you want to make sure you get the email first, sign up to my newsletter here. So that can be really positive, because even if they don't end up booking, you're getting those people's emails. So that can be really helpful. And then one more post, just kind of keeping everyone warm, maybe sharing a few more details about your mini sessions, and then you open the booking. So one of the things I typically do as well is, although I will promote on Instagram, I will quite often send the booking link to my email subscribers first. So they get 24 to 48 hours first dibs to book. And then I will make the booking link live on Instagram as well, or social media, wherever. And I found that works pretty well. I think as well, when we're talking about marketing and promotion, just make sure that you're in alignment with your brand. I do think that's one of the reasons why photographers steer clear of mini sessions, because I think they feel like it's cheapening their brand. But if you are deliberate and intentional with your language, then I don't think that's a problem. So just be careful with the type of language you're using, with the type of font you're using, making them feel exclusive, limited, and kind of just encouraging that concept of scarcity, because that is ultimately what's going to attract people to your mini sessions as well. I do think your visuals are super important, and tying it to a themed concept as well is super helpful. So obviously in the fall, you can just think about the fall colors, but make sure you are kind of giving people an idea of the locations, if you're doing multiple locations or multiple sessions at different spots. Yeah, I think positioning yourself as offering that could be really appealing as well. And then just for an example, this year, I have decided to kind of produce more stylized mini sessions, because I feel like that is more aligned with my style and with my brand. So for example, my first session, I'm doing 3 on 3 different dates as well, because I wanted to try something a little different this year, because when I thought back to my mini sessions in the fall last year, they just felt a little rushed, a little lacking in client experience. And that's not what I don't like that. Like, I want my brand to really have a strong client experience. So this year I am doing just 3 sessions for each day. Part of the reason as well that I'm doing this is because of the light here in Colorado. I'm just always mindful of harsh light and families and kids kind of running all over the place. But yeah, so I might offer a 4th session at each of my different dates, but that's TBD right now. So right now I'm offering 3. And I'm doing slightly longer sessions as well, because I want to provide more of that kind of storytelling imagery that is really just, again, part of my brand, part of what I'm looking to convey in my sessions. And I do also feel like that type of imagery will hopefully lead to future full sessions and gallery upgrades as well, because there's so much you can capture. So my concepts for each of my sessions as well, and I will drop the link to my mini session so you can kind of have a look and see what's there. But I am doing a vintage truck mini session with the mountains and a big open meadow. So I love that one. I did a styled shoot there earlier in the summer, so it was kind of perfect. I already had all the images that I needed to use. And then my second one are lakeside minis. So again, kind of mountain views, but with the softness of the water. I just felt like that would be a cute concept for like a family picnic, kite flying, that kind of vibe. So still kind of whimsical and a little bit different. And then my final mini session is going to be more in that mid-October timeframe. So that one is called Golden Groves, and that one will be set with the trees, the colors of the leaves, just kind of more playful movement in that setting, but still near the mountains as well. So I'm very excited about my concepts. And I think if you can do that too, it really helps your potential client to visualize the session, what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like. So your visuals need to be strong. and they need to tie into what the experience is going to look and feel like. Okay, let's talk about executing your mini sessions and the workflow. So how does that work? And when I say workflow, I'm talking mostly about your posing workflow. So I think kind of having a set number of poses or prompts that you want to use is going to be really helpful. I would say have at least 5 of those that you can easily remember, and run through those with every single session. I think naturally, as you run through those prompts and poses, you're going to get natural interaction happening as well. And again, this does depend on the type of photographer you are and how you shoot. So I'm a lifestyle photographer and I try to shoot more storytelling imagery. So just obviously set yourself up with whatever suits your style. So a lot of the prompts and poses I use kind of will naturally just flow into something else. And I think especially at family sessions too, kids are going to be kids. They're going to do their own thing. So just kind of make sure as well in your mind that you are capturing all the different groupings that you know families are going to want if we're doing family minis. For example, obviously the entire family unit, then mom and dad on their own, mom with the kids, dad with the kids, individuals of the kids if you can manage it, all the kids together, and then kind of get the family unit back together again for more images, and just creating variety where you can. So changing your angles, changing your position, changing where they are relative to the landscape. Yeah, just kind of maximizing variety so that you provide this full gallery where they are almost blown away and just cannot choose, because every single image is good, right? Every single image is different and feels different. So yeah, just kind of map it out, make a list, and then practice running through that. I do think that's helpful on mini session days where everything is kind of fast and furious. I think it is helpful to just kind of practice it out. So get your family involved or get your friends involved and just, yeah, have fun with it. I think as well as variety, don't forget to look for details. So not just kind of looking at variety from angles and who the subjects are, but also think about the details that could be included. And that way you are going to just have so many more images too. So however many number of images you've promised to your clients, just make sure you are shooting much more than that so that you are giving yourself a nice buffer and you're also creating that nice full gallery as well. I always like my mini sessions to have at least 25 images in their full gallery. Usually I don't have a problem with that at all. And especially now since I'm going to be offering slightly longer session time this year, I think that's going to be more than doable. So yeah, so let's talk about pricing and then upselling. As I mentioned before, it's really easy to fall into that trapping of looking around at what everybody else is offering and then just kind of offering the exact same thing or slightly different. But yeah, don't fall into that trap. So keeping your deliverables on the smaller side is what is going to help you make that upsell possible. I would say usually the sweet spot for the number of images that you include is 5 to 8, maybe. I think a lot of recommendations out there is around that 5 figure. And then that just makes the upsell more possible, right? People usually are going to want more than 5 photos. I feel like it's rare that they wouldn't. I don't know. Sometimes I do just wonder though, because I think I'm one of those people who would 100% of the time get the full gallery. So I'm always wondering about the people who don't. I'm like, how did you choose those images? Like, this was a hard choice. These are great images. How did you choose? I can't leave photos behind. Anyway, so yeah, try not to feel like you are being stingy by offering 5 images. I think you're being smart and savvy. And again, you are offering something that is exclusive, it's limited. So, if they want more images, then maybe they should purchase a full session with you, and then they get to have a fully customized experience. So that's kind of how I feel about that. Then make sure you have an upsell system built in after gallery delivery. So this is one of the reasons I switched over to PickTime, because they have a really phenomenal gallery upsell method built into their email marketing as part of the gallery experience. So yeah, make sure you have that set up. And then if you are someone who feels confident making, I'm going to call it in-person sales, but realistically, they're done online via a phone call or a Zoom call or whatever, then that would be something to get really good at as well. My husband is really good at sales and I am not. I definitely need to sit down and learn some things from him, but I just feel very uncomfortable trying to sell things to people. It's just not in my nature. Yeah, I think obviously I need to work on that as a business person, but for now I feel more comfortable with my email gallery upsell system. But yeah, that's something that I will maybe consider in the future. And yeah, who knows? Maybe I will ask my husband for advice. Maybe I won't. We will see. So for your mini session rate, this is a good one as well. Again, the trapping is that we look at what everybody else is charging and then we figure out our pricing based on that. So really you should be looking at what you're charging for your full session and figuring out what your mini session should cost relative to that. So if your full session is an hour and your mini session is 20 minutes, and again, it was $800, then it should be at least $250. Does that make sense? You're doing the math here where, okay, so 20 minutes is $250. That means 40 minutes is $500. That means an hour is $750. All right. So actually you should probably price it a little bit more, somewhere around $300 or so. The mini session should cost more per minute than your full session. Does that make sense? That's how your pricing should be done so that you make them profitable. And then again, just kind of think about your framing for your mini sessions, that this is a gateway offer, right? This is a limited, exclusive offer so that you can experience what it's like to work with me. And then in the future, you can opt into a full session and have a fully customized experience. And, you know, that trust is there. And yeah, everything just feels great. So that is pricing and upselling. I'm not going to say too much more about upselling. I do recommend checking out PickTime. I will probably drop something in the show notes so that you can check PickTime out, but I'm also happy to chat about any questions you might have about that. All right, so just quick recap. What is a photography mini session? So a photography mini session is a shorter, lower cost version of a full session. Usually lasts somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes, and then you have a limited number of images included with that. So the goal isn't to replace your full custom sessions, but to just kind of act as a new entry point for new clients. I will say that I still get a lot of repeat clients doing my mini sessions because they are just at that stage in their lives where they feel like more time with the kids is too chaotic. I am still gently trying to educate those clients, but for now I get it. And yeah, it's all good. I love that they keep coming back for mini sessions. So it's wonderful. And then another key point with mini sessions is that you can create urgency through these themed days, through kind of seasonal concepts, and then generate future upsell opportunities. So that's kind of what mini sessions are in a nutshell. And then how many photos to give in a mini photography session. So usually photographers who are successful with upselling their session packages or their gallery upgrades afterwards keep the number of images on the lower end, somewhere around 5 images. If you do provide too many images, then you're just limiting your opportunity for additional sales after the fact. And then how to price your mini session. Well, we just talked about that. You obviously want to balance accessibility with profitability as well. I will will say that most mini sessions I see, and this is kind of in the Colorado area, tend to be somewhere between $200 to $400. I think $200 should be a minimum because that's definitely tricky to be profitable at that lower end offering. Definitely don't include too many images with that offer. And then you are probably having a shorter time session if you're doing those $200 sessions. So maybe your session time is only 15 minutes, and then that way you can get some more clients in. So that is a good strategy too. If you really want to be accessible, then keeping it on the lower end, but just allowing it so that you can have more clients on one session day is helpful. How many mini sessions should you run on one day? So I do think it's a little bit tricky here in Colorado. I haven't found a lot of spots where I love to shoot where there is consistent shade. So having those earlier time slots can be a little bit problematic, although I'm going to test out my new tool and see if that makes shooting in harsh light a little bit better. So I feel like that's one thing to consider because, yes, we don't want a lot of blown out photos. Those won't look great on people's Christmas cards. And then the other thing to consider is just like genuinely your own ability to deal with that with the number of people that you're going to be working with that day. I think if you're dealing with more than 6 families in a day, it can become a little bit overwhelming because again, there's going to be a little bit of a sacrifice with the client experience with that because I don't know how you're going to remember all those people's names. You're not. To be fair, at most family sessions, I do just call the parents mom and dad anyway. But yeah, I do think if client experience is important to you, which I think it should be, then I don't think we should be looking at mini sessions with more than 6 to 8. I don't know. I feel like 8 is a lot. But let's say you're in a studio setting environment and maybe you are doing, I don't know, like a really cool, unique experience and it's just 10 minutes. So maybe it's a 10-minute session with Santa. That shorter session would probably give you enough room to be able to work with 8 families in one day, as well as the fact that you're in a studio. So it depends. If you're outdoors, obviously lighting has something to do with it. But then again, just like, what are you offering? What are you hoping to gain from the session? And, part of your strategy should be, okay, I want these clients to keep coming back, either for more mini sessions or potentially booking full sessions with me in the future. All right, so tips for photography mini sessions for beginners. Well, I would definitely say to start small. Don't overwhelm yourself with too many sessions. Limit your minis to one theme. So maybe just start with one date as well. If you're doing full minis, just kind of focus on the one date and see how it feels. And then I would say setting up your system is really important. So just thinking about what does your client need in the timeline from booking to the session day itself. So obviously on the day of booking, they need that email confirmation, perhaps an email saying that you're so excited to work with them. I include a link to my styling portal in that as well. And then you're going to want to map out something maybe 1 month before your mini session is happening. Just a quick reminder to them, hey, if you haven't figured out your wardrobe yet, now is the time, because obviously if people are buying things, then they're going to want to do that ahead of time. And then 1 week out from the mini session, I like to kind of just remind people, I confirm times if anything has changed. Sometimes I'm working in new locations and I like to kind of verify what the light is going to look like the week before. So if there's any adjustments to the timing, I'll let people know a week ahead, and then also provide parking information and just details about the day. Kind of like a client information guide that talks about how enjoying themselves is the important part, not to worry about smiling at the camera all the time, but just connecting with their family so that they feel relaxed. And yeah, they just go into the session knowing exactly what to expect. And then, I know this sounds like a lot, but so we did day of booking, then we did 1 month prior, then we're going for 1 week prior, and then we're going to do 1 or 2 days before the session, just the final reminder email with your phone number as well. Quite often I will text my clients the day before so they have my phone number. So maybe the last communication is not an email, it's actually a text. And yeah, that's pretty easy to set up. But that way I have their number in case anything does change last minute. So last year, one of my fall minis, it was a super windy day. And I did end up changing the location to someplace else just around the corner that I felt was going to be just a little more sheltered. I don't know if it was. I think it was a little bit. And then fortunately, the wind did kind of drop a little bit. But yeah, sometimes those kinds of things happen. So just be prepared. Make sure you have everybody's phone numbers. And again, that's why I recommend starting small. Oh, mini session ideas. Okay, well, obviously we've been talking a lot about full minis, but there are so many other opportunities. I think you can offer more than one mini session a year and still feel like you are offering something exclusive, okay? Because not everybody is able to do the full minis with you. So it's nice to be giving your audience different opportunities to experience you at different times of the year. And I feel like just do what you're excited about as well. So if you love motherhood and you want to set up Mother's Day minis, go ahead, go do that. I love always offering Mother's Day minis, and I like to come up with kind of unique concepts for them. So this year I did like a painting with me, like mommy and me photo shoot, and that was so cute. I love that. So yeah, just kind of have fun. Like this is your opportunity to come up with a concept and showcase that and get people excited about a vision you have. At least that's what I think anyway. I don't think mini sessions should be just, okay, show up. I'm going to take a picture of you all smiling at the camera. I think it's an opportunity for you to be creative. So there, that's what I think. Tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, so we got Mother's Day minis. What else can we do? We can do personality headshot days. So that could be for kids. But we can also do that for adults too, you know, like an adult wanting a refresh headshot for their business or company or their LinkedIn. And then what else we can have? You could, if you love animals, maybe you want to offer a mini session for pets or for dogs specifically. I don't know. Senior portraits is a good one. What else? There's so many, honestly, guys. Back to school, holiday minis, obviously. I did one last year with Santa. That was super fun. So yeah, there's so many different ideas. I would encourage you to just be creative and think about what, like something that you're really excited about to shoot. So maybe you really want to do something that's linked to water, like you have this beautiful river spot that you want to shoot at. Cool. Let's stylize your mini session concept around the location. Yeah, okay. I think that's it. So I'm going to wrap things up. I have a surprise proposal shoot to plan for. I actually got to go to the location now and do a little bit of filming so that my client knows exactly where to meet me and where to kind of stand. And yeah, so just doing a little bit of scouting and reconnaissance there. And then what else do I have coming up? Gosh, we're almost at the end of August already. It's crazy. It's my birthday next week. I think next week. And then I'm going to a fun content day that's kind of built around photographing with animals. So we're going to have cows and horses and kind of get all this education about how to deal with animals. So I'm excited about that. And I really hope there's going to be a Highland cow there. Anyway, I definitely have a goal to do some shoots with Highland cows, preferably mini Highland cows. So yeah, there you go. There's another mini session shoot idea for you. I'm excited to be back. And if you have any questions about today's topic, just send me a DM, drop a comment on the episode, and I will get back to you. I hope today's episode was helpful for you. Go out and schedule some mini sessions.